what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GameDay Huddle. We are back live.
Yes.
Jay, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm good. I was actually in town this weekend. You guys weren't, but I was actually in town. So.
Correct.
My God. So we go to a lot of shows, right? We probably go to, 25 shows a year?
It's been a lot.
Yeah, so we're not... This show was the busiest show I've ever been to.
Really?
Not just, the way Steve planned our schedule, because he, unfortunately for all of us working it, he's like, yeah, we're going to do trade night 2 nights, and we're going to do the show from 10 to 6, and then we're going right into trade night at 7 till 12, but the trade nights ended up being to 2, 3, 4 in the morning?
First night, I asked registration to leave a note. They left me a note that the lobby was cleared at 4:30 in the morning. Now, the second night I was there, and it was only till 2:30, and I was there till 2, and it was starting to fizzle out. But these guys were rocking and rolling, and they were going. Now, in fairness on that, the 7 to 12 schedule was done by the show prior to us having the agreement.
Yes.
However, because I would have gone 7 to 10, which is what we're going to do at Vegas Card Show.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the game plan for us when we go to Del Mar, but that still, it was daunting, it was grueling, and I'll tell you, it was incredibly grueling for me because it was not just I had to go down before the show.
Yeah.
So I literally was...
Great job.
Yeah.
You did
thank you.
Fantastic job. You set it up, and the amount of work that people don't realize, the amount of back end work that goes into putting something like this on and setting the speakers up and setting the signage and making sure you have it all worked out game plan wise, and then also emceeing it and on the mic. It's a lot of damn work. So great job this weekend.
Thank you.
So you guys went out of town to work, and you made your work.
Oh,
That's incredible.
when I go out of town, I would like to work a little and then have a little fun.
Yeah.
At least go to a dinner off property. We didn't leave the property once.
No.
We rented a car. Guess how many miles we put on it?
How many?
Less than 1. We were so close to the airport. We didn't even put a full mile on it.
Why not Uber then? Or you didn't know you're that close?
Usually when we go, we try to make at least one night, where we go out as a family, go to a nice dinner and make it a thing. We had no time.
Yeah,
we
I
did not have time.
So I never ate dinner with the guys at all.
Never once.
Not once. Not another one of the guys. Not another one of the guys. We ate pizzas one night, and basically it became we were going to eat pizza, and then we just gave it to everybody, is what it was, because we had so many friends and partners and everything there. But I'll tell you, and I guarantee Jimmy will say the same thing, I wouldn't change it for a minute. It was amazing. It was a great time.
Huge success.
Yeah.
It was probably, for us as a Game Day group and a Game Day family, it was probably our best show. The other one I equated to is Atlanta when we walked.
Exactly.
We did that trade night, and it was a huge success. In the lobby, we had 15 signs with Game Day everywhere. It looked like it was our hotel.
It looked like the official hotel of Game Day.
Correct,
for sure.
100%. And with us doing the thing, it was absolutely phenomenal. We thank our partners at Drip and 777 Sports Cards and Grandpa's Garage,
Legacy. These were Cali Elite. These are all people that got involved promoting the night, providing product and giveaways. We had so many giveaways; it was unreal.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible.
And the one thing is, you can tell that we're building a family on the West Coast. Between the group of us and Drip and the partners that we just mentioned, everybody comes together. They never have a problem helping out. If we say, hey, we need product or here, or we need this or that, they all jump in, they all help out. We're building something here on the West Coast, and we're going to take over. It's we got Beckett Marketplace coming up at the end of September.
Yeah.
We go right into Las Vegas Car. So we have 3 shows back to back. Beckett Industry Summit, then we go right into Las Vegas Card Show. 2 local shows, which is nice for us. Finally, we get to stay home, and we're gonna
beds.
Yes, and we're gonna go all out for these shows and be able to bring T-shirts and stuff that we normally don't get to do when we travel. And then we go to Del Mar the following week. So we have 3 shows back to back to back. It's gonna be extremely busy for all of us here at Game Day, and we thank you guys enough because you guys are the reason why it's getting done. So thank you.
Well, guys, you talked about the West Coast. This one's a little bit off the West Coast, but Little League World Series champions was Hawaii.
Still the West region.
I'll tell you what. No, and that's exactly it. So we were watching the Henderson kids play against Hawaii, and Jimmy looks at me and he just goes, "This team's winning it all."
Yeah.
Said it right in the moment. I mean, this was before when we still thought there was a chance that Anderson could beat them. He looks at me and he goes, "This team is winning it all. This team is incredibly too good, and congratulations to."
I think it came down. It was like 35-3. They outscored everybody throughout the whole the World. That's just the World Series. So now you're playing against the best teams.
And no shame on Curacao, because I was watching some of the games that Curacao played, and they looked really good as well.
Yeah.
And for Hawaii to go in there and 10-run rule them, that just shows you the advancement on the playing field. Like 10-run rule in a championship game doesn't usually happen.
There's two kids on that Hawaii team that every sharp is like that kid. His tool set is they would be bringing him into, if he was in the Dominican, into the prospect league there and developing him for.
A lot of these kids are going to get fast tracked, especially.
Yeah.
And it just shows you the amount of talent that comes out of Hawaii every year, because it seems like every time we turn around, there's a team from Hawaii that's in the Little League World Series, and they're making noise,
Every
so
time.
obviously they're doing something right over there in Hawaii, and then putting out some good ball players.
It does help they have decent weather,
year round.
Well, and that's it. They're playing. That's what it is. Those kids are playing. They're developing. They're developing quicker and better than some of the other kids.
There's no rainy days where you have to go inside.
Exactly. It's really, really true. I'll tell you, someone didn't have a rainy day, and that was the person who the ultimate end user who's getting paid for this. The 52 tops SGC 9.5 Mickey Mantle sold at auction. It closed. Now it's funny because everybody kept speculating on what the LeBron was going to be, right? The triple logo man, $5 million, $3 million, $4 million, and then it didn't do that, right? And everybody kept saying this is going to be a $6 million card. I heard everywhere, 6 maybe it'll push for 7, but it's a $6 million card. This card closed for $12.5 million, shattering the record.
Plus buyer premium. So in all actuality, it's close to 13.5 is what it's actually going to be. The grand total on that card. And after this last weekend, with these numbers, the card game's alive and well, my friends. Do not fret. The card game's going nowhere. If people are still investing this type of money into sports cards, you think they're going to allow this industry to go down and fail? No, it's not happening.
And the old Holy Grail was a Hannes Wagner T206, which you said it beat that.
It was like $7.5 million. This is like a $5 million, $6 million increase over that. I mean, it's literally almost doubled the record.
It's crazy.
And what Jimmy says is true. And actually, let's get in really quick. Let's start off. Let's plus or minus today. Let's get into it. This is the portion of the program where we just kind of give you some investment advice and stuff. Something that Jimmy said I think is incredibly important here, which is the hobby is alive and kicking. Now is an incredibly great time to buy. You should be a buyer in this market. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't slow down your buying, and you should hedge anything that you did. And the first thing I want to touch on is Zion Williamson. You have a month to hedge right now, and that is it. Because in a month, that monster is going to be on the court. He's going to be dunking. He's going to have a fun group of players that he's got a fun squad to play with that's going to be entertaining. Yeah. And all of a sudden, all of that, what we thought, the injuries and all that stuff, is going to be gone. And that is going to be a huge spike in the market. I will bet you that between today and that first primetime game on TV that they have that features Zion, he's probably going to have a 15 to 20% increase from today on what stuff is. That's just a natural increase just because he's there, not what he could potentially do during the season.
Yeah, it goes like this. If Zion stays healthy, his cards are going to triple in value. Yeah. If he can stay healthy for one whole year, stay on the court, play well, they will make the playoffs. I promise you that if Zion plays this whole year, they're in the playoffs. They might even win a series in the playoffs. Yeah. And if they do something like that, his cards will triple in value because they're so low right now from when it first came out, it was insane the numbers that they were doing. He gets hurt. He doesn't play for a whole year. Now his second year comes, he doesn't play again.
He showed up overweight for a camp. There's all kinds of knocks on him. There was never any positive news on Zion. None. For the last 2 years, there's been zero positive news about Zion. Because they even thought he was going to come back towards the end of the year, and he never came back. Right. They're like, if we make the playoffs, he'll come back. Guess what? The playoffs came, and they were one of the write-in teams, and he never came back. So everything's been negative about this guy. They're looking for just some kind of positivity out of this guy, and that stuff will start going up.
And he did. He re-signed his contract with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
We all thought, I was hopeful he was going to go to my Knicks.
I thought he'd go to the Knicks too.
He didn't take that option. Maybe there is an option for a trade later on with the Pelicans, but for what they're building down there, they got a decent squad.
Right, so why would he want to leave? Just
Yeah.
to be in a bigger spotlight? But New Orleans is a good city, and the team they're building, there's a pretty good team. So
I think that when they were making moves last year, young, couldn't see the future, and then saw that the guys that they were actually putting on could actually play. And I think that changed the tone because you started hearing that come out a little bit. So again, I think Zion's a buy. Jimmy obviously thinks Zion's a buy. I would assume you think Zion's a buy, Jay. Couple other guys to keep in mind, just real quick quips. Josh Allen's probably a pump the brakes right now guy. If you didn't get into the Josh Allen sweepstakes before the National, you're probably priced out of it. You just are. There's a lot of big cards out there that are being kind of like, are you interested, asked on the market. If you can pick something up that's smaller that you think will make sense, that's fine. But the big cards, I think people are already kind of sitting they're kind of pushing that value of like expectation rather than what it's actually worth.
Right.
Sliding under the radar though is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's sliding under the radar. Everyone seems to think there's going to be a little bit of fall off, and maybe there is. But if you can get into stuff for the right price, and they're wrong, you're going to be really right here.
I think you can wait a little bit longer on Joe Burrow because I just have a feeling they're going to have that, and we see it every year, that Super Bowl hangover to where they're still like a decent team, but things just don't go their way. And if they start losing a few games here or there, or if they have some kind of a key injury on their offensive line or something like that happens, you may see Burrow come down a little bit, but I mean, rest assured, he's a great quarterback, and they will be back up. But you may see that little bit of a lull, which you usually do when the teams that lose the Super Bowl. You just see that kind of lull the very next year.
Yeah, so let's, real quick, who was the person that you heard at the show this weekend that everybody was buying? Who was the one person?
Jalen Hurts.
I was going to say the same exact thing. I had more people come to the booth, and I literally, so we brought a bunch of Jalen Hurts, and we sold it, the first day?
First day.
We had
Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Sold out.
Quickly, boom, all gone. A guy comes up, he had like 15 Hurts. I made a great buy. We sold all those. We literally bought them, brought everything we had, sold it. They didn't even, we have none. We brought back no Jalen Hurts, and we bought probably 20 over the weekend. They were buying and selling them so fast. Every person that came to the booth was like, "Oh, you have any Hurts? You have any Hurts?"
And all of them, their take was, he's going to be the MVP this year.
Yeah.
Every single one of them was like, he's going to be the MVP. He's going to be the MVP. Like,
so I don't know who's pushing this market on the Jalen Hurts stuff, but somebody in the back end somewhere is pushing Jalen Hurts because you wouldn't hear that many people just by fans or people just watching ESPN picking up on Jalen Hurts.
Let's go
Something's
back.
Up.
Let's rewind the Game Day Huddle back to Week 14 of last season.
Yeah.
When we came on and told everybody buy Jalen Hurts because you're never going to buy him cheaper. That's how far ahead we were on it.
We've been pumping him in fantasy a lot too, just because of the weapons they've been putting around this guy. And I know they were a running team last year, and they still may be a running team, but he adds that extra element. He's going to be, in my opinion, a top 5 guy. So going from what he was the last couple of years to what he's going to be, I think the potential, like we talked about with potential with Josh Allen, the potential is there. They already went out and traded for A.J. Brown. They already have Devontae Smith there. So they have the weapons. They have Dallas Goedert at tight end. They have a great running back stable. They don't have that superstar running back, but the 4 or 5 deep guys they do have are all good running backs. Yeah. So they're just going to be plugging guys in, just boom, boom, boom.
So
boom,
are they
boom.
like the Niners of the East Coast?
The only thing that worries me is just their coach.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you because that's having Sirianni there. He doesn't have as much experience. You have a guy like Shanahan in San Francisco who's been doing it for years, and you kind of know that Shanahan offense, the way they're going to run things, and it works really well. I don't know. I believe in Sirianni that same exact way, but the stuff is there in place. The players are there in place. I just don't trust that coach as much as I trust Shanahan.
So, by saying that, I still think you have a little bit of time on Jalen Hurts. We were selling his stuff, and I'm comping cards out as we're buying it, and I'm like, holy shit, this card's only $400? I'm like,
that's why they're buying it.
What?
Yeah.
$400. Last 3 sold for $410, $420. I'm like, all right, I'll give you $300 for it. Guy instantly snap sells it. I'm like, I put it in the case for $550. It sells for $520. In like an hour, I made $120 on the one. I'm like, holy shit, like, why don't I do this for a living? Oh, wait, I do. It was great.
We know we talk about quick investment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was like, this is a quick flip. Like, that's the quickest flip I've ever heard. Like, an hour?
Yeah.
It's like
We had one that didn't even leave my hand. I literally bought it. I bought a Jalen Hurts for $600. Literally bought it. The guy was standing next, watching the deal. He heard what I bought the card for.
Yeah.
He saw me give him $600 cash. He paid me $700. He said, "I'll take that card for $700." Literally, I didn't even touch it. It slid right across to it. Yeah, I'm like, deal.
That literally happened all weekend long, even Sunday.
Yeah.
When you weren't there on Sunday, guy came up, and it wasn't a big card, but like bought a Davis Mills. It hits the case, and I kid you not, the guy that was standing to his left became the guy standing to his right buying the card. Like, it was the craziest thing. I'm like,
but that's how busy the show was. There were people lined up. At one point, when we first got there, we go strong. When we show up to places, we show up 7, 8 deep. Mm-hmm. We had 7 guys behind our booth. At one point, all 7 guys. Now, one of our display cases had they had briefcases open on every single one. Guys selling us product. It was incredible.
We're all going through. It was
everybody was buying. Everybody was selling. It was great.
It was great. So real quick, we'll get it just a little bit of baseball. Tony Gosselin got injured, and
the ace for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and that's it's a forearm injury, which is never ever good. Forearm injury almost always leads to
I was going to say, Jay's going to say it again.
Here we go. Here we go with the Dodgers. The Dodgers at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Always something.
And here it is.
Always something with it.
They're saying they don't think it's that serious, but I just, over the years, you've seen it. Once it's a forearm strain, it almost always goes to the elbow.
I like my pitchers that have healthy arms.
That's
one thing I look for.
We said it a while back. Remember, we said it a while back that there's no way Gosselin's going to be able to continue to do what he's doing.
He wouldn't keep it up,
and he didn't, and that showed. And then a team in their division that isn't making a lot of noise, but has someone that will be soon. Let me introduce you to him. Corbin Carroll was promoted to the big leagues today. Now, he doesn't get that fanfare like a Julio Rodriguez or one of those guys would because he's a Diamondback. But if he was on any other mainstream team, every single sports news outlet would be talking about this kid. Mm-hmm. He's a stud. He's one of those guys that's going to change a franchise. He's going to bring players to their team that are going to be interesting. And he's very fiery. So kind of like the things you're hearing about Marcelo Mayer coming up for Boston. This kid is fiery. He's chippy. It kind of reminds me of that temperament that Harper has, right? I bring him up, though, for plus or minus because you might want to run out and grab some stuff. And if you can get into some, cheaper stuff, kind of inexpensive, it's probably a good time for that. But honestly, if you didn't get in on Corbin Carroll last year, if you didn't buy his big stuff last year, you're probably priced out of the market already. You just don't know it because you weren't looking for it. Mm-hmm. The sharps that are buying him have been buying and buying and buying and stacking it up, and probably not the best time to purchase him. But Jimmy, excited about Corbin Carroll?
Very. The one downfall, you hit it right on the head, is that he plays for the Diamondbacks. However, the Diamondbacks do have a staple of young prospects coming up that if they hold on to him and they don't sell out like the Oakland A's, then they should have a decent squad here in a year. Shots fired. Just saying that, yes, I'm excited about him. He's going to be a great hitter in the league. He's going to play almost he'll be an all-star within 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I'm excited about the kid. I think he's gonna change that franchise a lot. And then you got guys like Jordan Lawler coming up. You obviously have Marte there already. Guys that actually can move the needle a little bit. They're a really interesting squad. We'll see what they do. I think in the offseason, moving some of the veteran parts around will be the thing. But not good to buy his big stuff. Maybe it's okay to buy some of the smaller stuff.
None of the big stuff's really available. I went on eBay this morning because one of our high-end buyers gave me a call. He's like, hey, I'm looking for Corbin Carroll. And I'm like, well, you should have been looking about 8 months ago. Right now, not the time to get them.
Yeah.
So I jumped on eBay just to kind of price some stuff out before I hit up people to ask. And everything is, all the high-end stuff, anything number 99 or less has already been bought up. There's a couple in 1 to 199s and 150s, but the price tag is on them like $4 or $5K. So it's like at that point, what are you hoping he does?
Not gonna make anything off of that.
Yeah, it's gonna take he's gonna have to have a stellar career and actually make you back your money that you invest into it.
Exactly.
So yeah, he's a good buy if you could get the Bowman's Best or those, not the Bowman First, but some of his autos. You can still find those out there for about $100. You're not gonna make huge investments on it. Right. You'll put up 100, make 150 to make $200. But that stuff's out there, the lower end stuff to buy.
Sometimes that's the way to go, though.
Well, for him, and so you don't have a huge investment into it.
Right.
Yeah, buy a Bowman Best auto numbered to 75, for $150. And if he pops off like we all think, not just us, but the other prospects and the scouts say he's going to, that's a $350 card. You can make $200 on it and be happy with it.
Yeah, and that's something that is in play now. So there's an opportunity for you now. That guy's coming. This guy, he's leaving. Ronaldo was released by Man U today. Not going to spend a lot of time on it. However, I think that's really going to put a focal point now in Portugal in the World Cup, because now it's going to be 37-year-old Ronaldo. How does he play against the world's best for one more deal?
Yeah, and they just haven't got it done. Portugal's a huge name in soccer. Everybody wants, because Ronaldo's been there for so long and they've been a big player, but they've never got it done. They just don't win the big games. They get beat out almost every single time in the World Cup. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year. I don't see them being a big player in the World Cup, but you just never know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I feel bad for him.
Yeah,
it's hard.
We all feel bad for the guy worth $1 billion and that looks like that.
Yeah,
walking around at 6'2" and
super sad day.
It is a super sad day. Well, another guy that walks around at least dating models and he's actually staying is Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. Jay, can you make sense of what's going on?
Make sense of what's going on.
What is going on with Jimmy G? Please help us out.
So if you remember just last week, we talked about it. You thought maybe he might be released, and I was like, there's no way they're going to release this guy, because if they were going to do that, they would have done it before that deadline, so they owe him money. He was actually nice enough to restructure his deal. They're going to be paying him $6.5 million base salary now, which is a lot lower than he was getting before, and they put incentive-laden contract in there, so it's $16 million. He can make up to $16 million in incentives. So the first thing we all thought was there must be some kind of a deal in place. But where would that deal be at this juncture? You're talking about you're literally talking about 7-8 days before week 1 kicks off. Like, everyone's pretty much got in mind who they're going to be. So I don't know if that's going to happen if they have a deal in place. It was very weird timing. They basically said, they sat him down, said, hey, this is Trey Lance's team. You are going to be the backup. Do you want to stay? He basically said yes. They gave him $6.5 million in his restructured deal, but he has $16 million. He can earn up to $16 million in incentives. So I would love to see what those incentives are. Is it going to be like playing time? Is it going to be like, or they not 100% believe that Trey Lance, not they don't believe in him, but if he stumbles, now we have a really good backup.
And that's my question to you before you say anything, Jimmy, is that this, to me, traditionally across the NFL, is the makings of a very, very poor locker room decision.
Right.
Because as soon as if they start the season 1-4,
and you have this guy who's
oh my
gotten you to the Super Bowl,
what happens?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
They better not. Let's just go there. They better not start the season
2-2?
Even being 500.
I think 2-2 fans wouldn't be going crazy
unless it's losses to bad teams.
Correct.
If they lose, all they have to do is lose to one bad team, and Trey Lance has a poor performance, which he's a rookie quarterback. So is he? He's not a rookie because he played last year, but he's a first-year starter. Good luck.
Right, that's
good luck.
That sucks for him, because I know that you like to have that locker room guy there to kind of help you along the way, but the situation they were in originally is just not good. It's not a good situation. You're talking about a guy that for the last couple of years has done you no wrong. He hasn't made big mistakes. He's been the game manager you asked him to be. He's taken his team to the Super Bowl.
He was one pass away from winning the damn Super Bowl.
So it's not like you have just this schlub sitting on the back like, oh yeah, we'll keep you as a backup. You have a guy that took your team to the Super Bowl. Now he's in the locker room.
I mean, weren't they 4 yards from going to the Super Bowl last year?
Yeah.
I mean, am I the one that I'm not the only one saying that, right? 4 yards.
So the fact that they bring him in, they bring him back, and I knew something was fishy because if they were going to cut him, they would have cut him before that deadline, so they didn't owe him any money. And once that time passed. And then they kept saying, oh, well, we're going to let him throw a little bit. He just had shoulder surgery. And then he started throwing, and there was still no news about him. And now this comes out, and usually you think, okay, they have a deal in place. But it's too damn close to the season. Like, I don't see who's going to be like, yeah, we have 3 days to get him caught up. Yeah, let's take him.
The Browns?
Well, the only team that still hasn't picked a quarterback is who?
Well, the Steelers.
Okay.
And we will talk about that today. We're definitely getting into that. And my thing is, and my thought is just purely this. Game 2 of the season is against the Seahawks.
That's a game
right?
if they lose.
And they don't want I don't think that what they wanted to do was release Jimmy G 2 weeks ago, giving a month for Seattle to prepare for him to play against the Niners because they believe that that's a signing point for him. So this almost could be hold on to him until the start of the season, trade him somewhere where it's too late to be able to do that, and he doesn't end up with Seahawks.
He would only need half an hour to prepare to play the 49ers if they trade him to the Seahawks. I mean, he knows that team backwards and forwards.
Right.
They'd be like, here's our plays. He'd be like, okay, I got this. Don't worry about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not. He knows their weaknesses. He's been practicing with them for the last 3 years.
Or the only thing I can also think of is why Jimmy G signed the deal is, he found a porn star he really likes that lives up in the San Francisco area, and he's like, hey, who's going to turn down $6.5 million to sit up?
Why are you knocking that guy because that's a date porn star?
I'm just saying,
think he's knocking
I don't think there's any guy in the world that would say, hey, $6.5 million to sit on the bench and bang porn stars. That's not a bad living.
I mean, it's not. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's not the worst situation in the world, but for that locker room, it may be the worst situation in the world.
Oh, for sure. And that's what I think we all agree. If they lose that Seattle game, boy, is everybody going to be, especially the veterans in that locker room. I think the younger guys are still trying to ride with Trey Lance and will try to ride with him. But the veterans are going to be starting to say, hey, we were real close to winning 2 Super Bowls the last couple of years with Jimmy G. I think we need
to go over him.
Yeah, we need to ride with him.
Speaking of losing game, weren't you going to bring up Tom Brady?
Yeah, so interesting things on the Tom Brady front. So he and wife Giselle, now apparently it's being discussed that there may be marital issues. He said of a she said telephone situation. Kind of got brought up, but apparently Brady addressed it a little bit, that they actually went to the Bahamas to work on their marriage
by themselves, just the two of them, so the timing that it happened, it's almost seemed like for all of us guys, are married or have been married, and if you're going into the season and you're going to go right before the season on a vacation with your wife, you're either she's trying to fix something or you're trying to cover up something really bad that happened.
Well, especially with Tom Brady, because let's face it, for the last however many years he's been playing, 15, 20 years, he doesn't miss anything. He doesn't miss anything. He's like the most prepared guy on every single front you can think of. So for this to happen, it was like weird timing. Like you said, it was excused. The coaches knew about it. Comes out that he was in the Bahamas.
Well, that's an interesting statement now that you think about it, and then this comes out that it was excused means he asked then to go, not I had a pre-planned.
Correct.
Well, right? It is Tom Brady, so it doesn't matter if it's excused or not. That head coach or that coach is going to say it's excused.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if he went in, he called them as he's flying there on his private jet and say, hey, I'm not going to be at work this week.
Yeah.
They're all going to say, yeah, it was a planned absence. It was excused.
Right.
Tom's all good. We're going to let him do what he wants. And he's earned that right.
Although Arians might throw him under the bus.
Yeah, he would have.
Not there anymore.
Yes. He would have been like, oh, he's, he...
Well, I mean,
I
will tell you this. He's in the front office, and if anybody wants to get the information out of what happened, I would not be afraid to point a finger Arians' way and say, this might be sweet retribution.
Yeah.
He's definitely a loose tongue, and he does not hold back punches.
No.
So... wish him the best, but I think all of us have looked at this in the past, and we've talked on this podcast about Tom, and when he signed up to play again, we said, wait, like, if you're Giselle,
You said he didn't like his family.
Yeah, on the previous podcast, in my opinion, that's what you have to do. The reason why I stay away from my family and I come to work is because I'm grinding, building a business, trying to make money. Listen, this guy already has the money. Yep. His wife already has the money. He's already built his legacy.
He's already got the endorsements.
He's already the best quarterback to ever play the game.
Right. Yep.
Nobody argues that. So what are you playing for at this point? Just to avoid your family? And I think that's probably why they had their marital issues. Because the one thing all of us can say about our wives or girlfriends is they want time. It doesn't matter if we're busy, if we're doing anything, we have to make time for them.
He could have went out on top like everyone thought he was going to do and retire
after he won the Super Bowl.
Because you proved your point.
Yeah.
It was me, not Bill Belichick.
I went down and won a Super Bowl with somebody else.
Right. Yep. It was me.
Out on top, gun. And then he comes out after and says, Giselle's fine with it. We're going to make it a run one more time.
Yeah.
And all of us looked like...
Wait, why?
Like he was hate being at home.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. We do want to get into it, though. Before we get into the AFC talk, the Bucs had some injury front issues this week. They're down 2 more linemen. It's literally like they're now calling up guys that maybe were thinking about retiring and they're not sure. I'm pretty sure Whitworth got a call. I'm not quite sure who's going to be protecting Tom Brady, but it's definitely not going to be the guys they went into camp with.
This is what I said.
It's a really interesting
when we
time.
went through the whole NFC. This is what I talked about: is that you have a great team in Tampa Bay, but if you don't have a line to protect Tom Brady, what the hell is he supposed to do? He's not going to run out of the pocket.
Yep,
he's not. So if you get Tom Brady hurt, like that's detrimental. So like I don't know what they're going to do to fix this. But this is why I don't see Tampa Bay winning that division and going and making a deep playoff run.
Yeah, I just see the writings on the wall with Tampa Bay, the way they're beat up, the way things are happening right now. I could see if that team starts out 2-3, 2-4, that I think Tom's going to be like, "What the hell am I doing?" with all this personal drama that he has. Yeah. I think we're going to see Kyle Trask really early on, and Tom might just say, "All right, I got to step away." Because he's not going to want to sit back there and get his ass kicked and deal with personal issues. Because that's the last thing you want to do. Is have personal issues and then go into work and get your ass kicked every single day. We've all been there where we're like...
no relief anywhere.
Of course. He's not going to do that. He will step out and he might have an injury where he steps out of playing and let Kyle Trask take that team.
Right.
So I would not be surprised by week 8 or 9 if their record is bad. We'll see Kyle Trask as a starting quarterback. Not because Brady is retiring, but he will step away from the team.
Has Trask passed up, was it Gabbert already?
Gabbert's the guy that's there.
Gabbert's still number 2.
If Tom gets injured, but they're like good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely past him if...
I watched his last preseason game, Trask. That guy's got a freaking rope.
Did he come in third, though? Did he come in after Gabbert?
Yeah, he came in after.
So he's playing like a lot of backups.
But you're not investing that team into Gabbert. You're going to invest. You want to see Trask play in position.
If they're trying to win games, Gabbert's probably there. If they're looking to see what they have,
if they think they still have a shot, they're going to go to Gabbert. If they think, it's time to blow it up, guys, let's rebuild, then they're going to Trask.
But they're not... Tom Brady's playing if they think they have a shot.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's, So, I mean, 100%. I think that's it. Let's talk about a team that's got some interesting conversation. The only thing that's for sure about this team is they've got a decent defense. I don't want to say great defense, right? Decent defense. They obviously have one of the best defensive players in the league. That is the Steelers. And at this point on offense, the only steady thing we know that's there is Najee Harris.
Which is not so steady.
Right. Because
he comes out, he had a Liz Frank injury. A sprained Liz Frank. Not broken, because if you're broken, you're probably out for the majority of the year. A sprained Liz Frank.
We've seen it linger with that injury. How long does that linger?
It says that for a sprain of that nature, it's 4 to 6 week time frame. He's at 4 weeks right now. So everyone says that he should, and if you're just listening and not watching, I'm using the air quotes. He should be okay for week 1.
Right.
Behind a not great offensive line with a not great quarterback. So good luck, Najee. I wish you the best.
Writings on the wall, I think, for him as well.
Well, we will see. And John, we did see your comment about Tom should just say I'm done. I mean, I think our room on the Tom thing is really quick.
We've been saying
we all
for
said
years,
he should have done that when he did it, especially the card market, because it didn't help it. That's for sure. But Mitchell Trubisky has been taking half the reps with the starters.
Please don't tell me
And
Kenny
Pickett
No!
has been taking half the reps with the starters.
Who would have thought that?
And Kenny Pickett, so going back to it now, for incoming quarterbacks that are going to be rookies that season, in the preseason, Kenny Pickett has some of the best numbers that a quarterback has ever had in the preseason. His passer rating is like 138.
Yeah.
He's on fire. He's fiery. He's entertaining. They like him. And he's really, really pushing a coach that wants to start the veteran
Do you
make a
hear
decision.
But Tomlin's named a starter, right? Like he named a week 1 starter, didn't he?
He has not named the week 1 starter.
You hear it in his voice already, like he's trying to boast himself, and like because we do. If you're just tuning in, we have a $20 bet going back to like 3 or 4 podcasts ago where Jay took Kenny Pickett to be the first rookie quarterback starter. I took Ritter. He's not gonna be the starter week 1. Mariota's for sure gonna be the starter week 1. So Jay is probably a 3-1 favorite at this point.
I mean,
but
it's a heavy favorite.
He is our fantasy expert for a reason, so I am going against the GOAT in this, but I'm okay with it. I'm still riding with Ritter.
I almost don't want to do fantasy today because we're going to have our draft tonight, the game day draft. Like, I almost don't want to give up.
No, we have to. Yeah. But I need the help. But here's the thing. Pickett, at this point, he's playing this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind now. Pickett is playing this year.
Especially if they haven't. So say Trubisky does get named the starter because he is a veteran. He is down there. He gets named the starter. If they lose their first 2 games, Pickett's in there by week 3.
Media right now is putting the pressure on Tomlin, so that may make it the thing.
Yeah.
And I think you're better off. The thing you don't want to do is what the mistake I think the Niners are making, which is start the rookie or the first year quarterback. And then if you have to move to the veteran, that's an issue. So I feel like Tomlin probably going to play a little smarter. I think we all like him as a coach. I don't know that if I would say I would take Tomlin over. I don't want to play that game right now. However, I think he's such a good coach. He's probably going to play the card right, start Trubisky, stumbles a little bit, quick hook, and immediately goes to Kenny Pickett.
It will be
and
very,
just
very
runs
fast.
with it.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think by week 3, their schedule is not
Who do they got week 1, Jay? Do we know?
horrible, but I think they have the Ravens. They might be in division week 1. I don't remember. There's a lot of in division.
So they'll be 0-1.
Yeah, there's a lot of in division. Which
Let's just plan this out. Let's look at their schedule real quick and see. Let's say when he's going to be in there. Now that he's got half the first team reps.
No, it's actually not. So they have the Bengals in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I
So
knew they were in division to start.
Okay, and then they play the Patriots in week 2, the Browns in week 3, Jets in week 4, Bills. Oh, how about this? Bills in week 5 and the Buccaneers in week 6.
So going into week 6, looking at that schedule, they're going to have 1 win probably.
Right.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
So by week 6, 100% he will be in by week 6.
Well, and if
he
let's
doesn't start week
let's
1.
say that also the Bucs don't look that good, that might be the game. If you're the Steelers trying to marquee your guy, let's go ahead and sell some jerseys and do some things. Throw him up and let his first start be against Tom Brady.
The Steelers' schedule is not that easy. They actually have a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they play
The
the
ba-
Eagles,
I
they
think
play the Saints.
What's the back end of their schedule?
The back end of their schedule, I mean, they finish, obviously,
It's because
with
they
the
made the
Ravens
playoffs,
and the
remember?
Steelers. But right before that, they play the Raiders, they play the Panthers, which obviously, you know, Baker Mayfield is used to them. Like, he's beaten them before. I mean, they play the Ravens again. They play...
I think the best bet right now is running down and bet the under on the Steelers.
It might be.
Under on wins. They have a tough schedule. Just looking, I
Jesus.
haven't
And
looked at it.
knowing
They
that
have
a
pretty
rookie
tough
rookie
schedule.
quarterback is probably going to be at the helm earlier than later.
With Najee being beat up, the offensive line's terrible.
That might be the play. That's a really good play.
I don't think they're going to win many games.
Well, let's talk about their week 1 matchup. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on it. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and do we want to say it's a better defense? Do we want to say it's a same defense? What do we want to say about the Bengals here in the division?
Did they re-sign all their guys from defense? I thought there was still one guy that they hadn't re-signed for Cincinnati's defense.
I don't think so, but again, my understanding with them is it's just purely the defense played a little bit over their pay grade last year.
Yes.
right? They were a little over their head and played a little bit better than they should have. Kind of reminiscent if you think of the Chiefs team that lost to the Bucs, right, in the Super Bowl. That Chiefs team defense was not very good. Then all of a sudden started reeling off. Like,
I felt like they played over their head, and
defense.
I felt like they thought their biggest weakness was going to be offensive line, and they went out and they addressed the offensive line. They got Lyle Collins through the draft. Also, they got offensive line. So they did what they needed to do. I just know that in watching football for so long that, I mean, 9 times out of 10, the team that loses the Super Bowl usually kind of slumps a little bit the next year. And it's not because of injuries, it's just because things just don't go their way. The ball bouncing their way a lot last year and taking them all the way to the Super Bowl, it was their year, you know what I mean? Like, they had a good chance of winning it.
Well, look back at that playoff run. Yeah. Like, the Raiders had all the chances in the world to win that game.
That's what I'm saying.
If the Raiders win that game, we're not talking about Joe Burrow right now.
Right.
With the run that they had. But the Raiders were right there. They should have won the game. It came down to the wire. That in the end zone, almost won the game. Like,
well, and
and
we all even said
yes.
So instead of the Bills probably would have smashed on the Bengals.
They would have crushed them.
So like it just everything fell right, and sometimes it doesn't fall right. I'm not saying they're a bad team or they're going to suck. I'm just saying that I don't have them making the playoffs this year. I have the Ravens winning the North and the Bengals finishing right now. I have them finishing second with the Steelers third and the Browns fourth.
Well, and here's the thing. So let's talk about the Browns for a second. If now it's a possibility with the restructuring of Garoppolo's deal, the Browns are back in the pool for trade now, because before it was too much money. Now that could possibly be a deal, a landing spot. People are trying to say the problem is if you're 7-4, 8-3, and then all of a sudden here comes Deshaun Watson. That's a really hard trigger to pull. I don't care who you are.
I think the Browns have made enough mistakes. Sorry, Bob, if you're listening to this, but I think they made enough mistakes that they don't want to compound it and make it worse. They're not going to go out and trade for another quarterback. They're going to make do with Jacoby Brissett. They're banged up in a few other spots as it is. Their defense is still good and they're still solid, and they're going to hope to have a 500 record by the time Deshaun Watson gets back.
And Brissett was a starter in this league for 2 years.
I think he's good enough to be he's not going to go out there and wow you. You're not going to be like, oh my God, did you see that play by Brissett last night? You're not going to say that. But he's good enough to get you a 500 record, especially in this division, which right now, to me, is kind of banged up. Like, I don't think the Steelers are as dominant as they used to be. I don't think the Bengals are as dominant as they were last year. You have the Ravens, who are tough, right? They're always tough. But, like, this division's up for grabs. So if they can just make it to 500, perfect timing by the NFL, too. What a classy move by making an 11-game suspension, because Game 12 is against the who? The Houston Texans.
Of course, yeah.
How classy of a move is that by the NFL?
For sure.
Very
I saw
classy.
the same thing. It was absolutely hilarious.
It's unbelievable the money grabs that these they don't make. What do they make? I think they're worth like $5 billion right now. The NFL is like, you don't think they make enough money that they have to do stupid stuff like? Well, I love it, but it's so dumb, it's so ridiculous.
It's so dumb.
I sit and laugh. I sit and laugh about things like that. I also laugh about the fact they gave him the suspension and now he has time to go be the keynote speaker at the massage therapy. But you mentioned it, but let's talk about the Ravens now. It is easy to forget that the Ravens were 4-0 when Lamar Jackson got hurt last year. Mm-hmm. And the roster's gotten better.
The roster's gotten,
their wide receivers are kind of
That's why
soft.
I put the question mark up.
Okay, the wide receivers, in my opinion, so I loved Rashad Bateman coming out of college, right? He was at Minnesota. I loved him, and I said, this guy's going to be good. And then he got drafted by the Ravens, and guess what? I immediately didn't like him. And nothing against Rashad Bateman personally, but as soon as Baltimore and Tennessee is where wide receivers go to die. I don't like them. I don't draft them in any of my fantasy drafts. I won't be taking Rashad Bateman tonight in our draft, just so you guys are aware. I'm not taking Rashad Bateman.
He can have
inside info.
Yep.
Have a great season. That's fine. I don't want him because all he looks at when he gets in trouble is Mark Andrews. That's the only guy he looks at. I don't want any part of that. Like, I just feel like I'm not impressed.
Well, they say that Lamar went to passing camp, that he spent more time with his teammates in the offseason than he has any other year. The things the news that's being brought out of camp is the good stuff, the good spin and all that. We don't know what is true, what isn't true. We're not there every day. We don't know the writers. We don't hear from the writers like we do here in Vegas with the Raiders, right? Mm-hmm. But, I'm leaning with you. I believe that they're probably a nick better in the division. I think it's going to come down to who wins that last matchup between the Bengals and the Ravens on who's going to win the division.
Yep.
I don't think the Browns. I just don't think the Browns will be able to put it together with Brissett there. I just don't think they're. Who's he throwing to? That's the question I ask. Right?
Amari Cooper.
Yeah, but
okay,
but the Browns.
Who else?
But the Browns never been a real passing threat.
No, they have two of the best. They have the best running back tandem
Right.
in all the NFL, in my opinion, having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt there.
You go back a year ago, they had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
Right.
Those guys get it done on every team they're with. There's not one team that those two guys don't go to that they don't get it done. You have
you need 50 yards with 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. You have to throw the ball.
Amari Cooper. You're throwing it to Amari Cooper.
I don't hope that that's the case. I just think that Amari Cooper to the next guy up is just such a wide gap that it's going to affect it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have as much faith in the Browns this year as maybe other people might. Now, if Deshaun Watson had gotten that 6-game suspension, I would have given him the crown for the division already. But I can't do it.
Yeah, they're a wait and see. We'll see what happens by week 11.
Yeah.
If they're relevant and they're close to 500.
5 and 6.
Yeah, I think they have a chance to make. Yes, I think they have a chance to make the playoffs, make a late run with Watson coming back. It's going to boost everybody up there. It's going to make everybody feel a little bit better. We'll see what happens with them.
I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs because of a division we're going to speak about last, but we'll get to that when it's time. Yeah.
That's it. So let's go AFC South.
Yeah.
I think the talk of the AFC South is Trevor Lawrence. What is Trevor Lawrence going to do? Are we seeing Brady 2.0, Manning 2.0 here with a really, really poor rookie year and a monster follow-up on his sophomore season? This team is interesting. You brought in news that I didn't even hear, which was they traded Laviska Shenault today.
Yes, they did.
Did not know that.
So they traded Laviska Shenault away, which I'm kind of surprised because he's
still on his rookie contract.
Right.
And when you have a guy like that that's that cheap and you can kind of use him as a gadget player, I'm surprised that they couldn't find a way to use him. But again, it was brought in by the old regime. Doug Peterson's there. Clearly, Doug Peterson didn't think he was skilled enough to be on that team, which is crazy to me because they literally went out and then they got Christian Kirk to be their number one, but they didn't really add any other big names. Like they had Marvin Jones there, right? They have Zay Jones that they signed. They don't have any big name players, and then you have Laviska Shenault, and you're like, we don't need him. Like we'll get rid of him. They traded him to Carolina. Traded him to Carolina Panthers.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's an interesting move. We kind of talked about how the Panthers probably weren't as deep. And to me, a Laviska Shenault with the Panthers becomes a pretty interesting weapon because of CMC. And we can get into that. Maybe we'll discuss that getting into the season next week a little bit more. But this division, I don't know if there's a true favorite in the division as much as there's teams that I think that are real good and not. The Texans defense is they're going to give up 28 points a game. It's just going to be one of those defenses. And they're going to score 28 points again.
Garbage time.
And they're literally going to be one of those teams that people are going to be talking about them playing in close games, but they're playing in close games because their defense is so bad.
Right.
Davis Mills is nice. I like the receiving core for the Texans. Defense, just not very good. Running backs, they look like they could be good, but again, it's all about what their line is.
Who's starting in Houston?
The starter right now is Marlon Mack.
Yep.
Okay, that's the guy they went on and got in free agency. He's the starter. But they did draft a kid out of college this year, Damian Pierce.
Yep.
And Damian Pierce right now has been that's the guy I want to say. Damian Pierce is the guy that's been kind of lighting it up in the preseason, but I mean he's not out there with the starting unit. He's out there with the number 2s. And right now,
he could be seeing a lot of time.
And Rex Burkhead. Don't forget about Rex Burkhead.
They're going to be throwing the ball a lot there, though.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be chucking it up. They're going to be behind. They're going to be late in games. They're going to be chasing a defense, giving up quick points, and they're going to have to throw the ball. Like we've just seen that.
Correct.
So we'll see how they put it together. Then obviously we talk about the Colts. I think the Colts in that division, really interesting team. I don't think any of us are super excited about Matt Ryan being the quarterback, but it's also hard to knock a guy that has played at an all-pro level, is probably a Hall of Fame. I'm saying probably, it's maybe should be all. I don't know. Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer because of Super Bowls, maybe. But obviously they've got an incredible running back. They got a guy that absolutely moves the needle when it comes to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, here's the way I kind of look at Indianapolis is that they were one game away from making the playoffs last year. They lost to a terrible, I think it was Jacksonville they lost to. Jacksonville or Houston?
No, Jacksonville.
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
at the very last game of the season. All they did was beat them and they're in the playoffs, right? And that was with Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
So now you're adding a guy like Matt Ryan, who I get he's a lot older than Carson Wentz, but I think he's a better quarterback overall, right? And now you have Paris Campbell, who by all accounts they say he's healthy, and that's the one guy that hasn't been healthy the last 2 years in camp. So you have Paris Campbell, who's a good wide receiver, adding with Michael Pittman. Mo Alley-Cox is their tight end. He's kind of stepped up in the preseason lately. And you have Jonathan Taylor along with Naheem Hines in the backfield, so they have another pass-catching back there. So if they were that good last year, I don't see any reason why they can't finish in the top 2 in this year's division, especially with, I think, Jacksonville kind of finally gets out of the cellar. I think I have Jacksonville finishing 3rd, Houston finishing 4th, Tennessee winning the division because I still think their defense is good and they still have that running game with Derrick Henry.
Well, that's where I wanted to get into, and we'll bounce off the running back thing because Jonathan Taylor is being looked at by all accords as a guy that could put up a ridiculous season this year. And another guy that could put up a ridiculous season coming back healthy, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And when he came back off the injury last year, it was like he didn't skip a beat. So this team made some moves, did a few things in the offseason. I still don't know if they're going to be able to throw the ball. I don't know if Tannehill is the guy for that. I'm not knocking Tannehill. I think he's a winner.
Yeah, I mean, they had A.J. Brown. They didn't really throw at him very much. They went out this year and they signed Robert Woods as a free agent. He's coming off an ACL injury, even though he's healthy right now. And then they went out and drafted Treylon Burks, which, judging by Twitter, you either love Treylon Burks or you hate him. Like, there is no middle on him for some reason. Like, I feel bad for the guy already, and he hasn't even played a game. He came in, and right away they said he was out of shape and he wasn't conditioned. Then it comes out that he had asthma, and he was able to control it in college, but now it's hitting him hard in the NFL. All these stories come out, and then he goes out and has like a couple of games where he actually looks really good. So, like, to me, he's the most up-in-the-air wide receiver out of this whole wide receiver class that's been playing. So they could have a diamond in the rough with him, but like you said, Tannehill doesn't really throw that much, but he wins it with his legs too. So like the running game they have there is what they're going to go by.
And keep in mind that when Derrick Henry was hurt, the running backs that came in and did an incredible job for them. So they're deep.
Guys like Dontrell Hilliard, or you know, it's
they're deep with guys that can handle the rock.
They're
not Henry, but they're good enough. Right. Where do you have? Can the Colts unseat these guys? What do you think?
I do. I think the Colts are going to win the division. I think the Tennessee's going to take a step back down. They're going to be a good team. They'll be right there in the mix. They're going to play a lot of close games because they got a good defense and they run the ball well. So it's going to be a lot of close games. I do think that Matt Ryan's going to have a better year than what he had the previous last 2 years with the Falcons. He's got great weapons around him. We all say the best thing for a quarterback is a good running game. He's got a good running game with Jonathan Taylor. So I think he's going to have a better year. Is he going to put up crazy numbers? No, I don't think that's the offense that they're going to be running there, is where it's run and gun, shoot it out. I don't think that's going to be happening. I think they're going to play clock management, try not to make mistakes, pound Jonathan Taylor, and play good defense. Their offensive line is probably one of the best in the NFL with the Colts. So he'll have time to make some throws. I do like Pittman. I think Pittman's a good little fit. He's another USC wide receiver that I think their wide receiver they just pump in wide receivers into the NFL every single year. We'll see what happens with that, but I do think they're going to win the division. Tennessee's going to be right there, edging them out. I think Jacksonville is a year away. They're going to step down and probably finish in the basement because I think Houston has probably a little bit better team than Jacksonville, but next year I think is Jacksonville's year where now they're under Doug Peterson for another year. He's a guru when it comes to the offense, so it'll be fun to see them next year after he gets a full year with Trevor Lawrence and what's happening. So I have Colts winning it with Tennessee, then Houston and Jacksonville.
And that's how I have that division wrapping up exactly the same. I just purely think that they're going to play a lot of low-scoring games, the Colts, and they're going to shove the ball down teams' throats because they're going to have the guy that's just going to be able to find the corner the best. And I think that he's probably the best running back in the game now. This personal opinion. I don't want to take anything from CMC or from Derrick Henry, but it's hard for me not to like Jonathan Taylor with what I see. The eye test tells me the guy is incredible.
Well, it goes back to Wisconsin just putting great running backs. Ron Dane, great running back in the NFL. They do. I was getting there, but we have to first start with the best that they put out there with Ron Dane, and he won the Heisman for God's sake. So he's pretty freaking good.
That's when he ended being good.
Well, he won a Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl?
Yeah, with the Giants. Is that not good?
The Giants won a Super Bowl.
Giants won a Super Bowl.
Wasn't he behind Tiki Barber?
Hey, Thunder and Lightning, baby.
All right, so we've got the AFC East. This division, it really feels like there's a tried and true, but then like you want to make arguments all the way up and down it as to why and why not. We start with the Jets. Zach Wilson, we still don't know for fact when we'll see him on the field. There's speculation, but there's no exact timeline.
Right.
And then the question becomes, when he comes back, is he coming back 100%? Is he coming back 70%? If he's 70%, he's better than anything else they have. Yeah, but his 70% better than what else they have is different than him being 100% with what they have as a whole.
I know, but the whole allurement of Zach Wilson is that he can use his legs, right? Like when he's flush out of the pocket, he can run. If you're not 100%, now you take that aspect away, that makes him a lot more pedestrian, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I know they put a lot of weapons around him, and I had high hopes for Zach Wilson, but when you have an injury like he did, which everyone initially thought was going to be an ACL tear, and it ends up being, I think it was a meniscus, and it was just, it wasn't torn, it was just like a sprained meniscus. They're saying that he should be back by week 2. It looks like Joe Flacco is going to start week 1, which is basically a guy that's going to stand in the pocket and throw, but the dude still has an arm, even though he's 38 years old. The guy still has an arm, right? So if they win the first game, they're 1-0, week 2 comes up and Zach Wilson's still not feeling good, let Joe Flacco go out there and play another game, and then have Zach Wilson come back healthy, so he can give you every aspect of the game. Not like, he's about 80% with his legs. Well, that's not good enough. That you need his legs.
So if the Jets start out 2-0 with Flacco at quarterback, do you ride with Flacco?
No controversy whatsoever. When Zach Wilson's ready, he comes back. Yeah, 100%.
It's his team, and I think the locker room there now, it's his team.
It is 100% his team.
They are in.
I don't care if Flacco goes 4-0. It's going to be Zach Wilson's team when he comes back.
Because the stuff that I've read, they really his teammates really like playing for him. They stepped up the line. They made some of the moves they needed to do, which was surprising because I'm not usually talking about the Jets making some good offseason moves. I'm usually knocking them. And this year, I thought that they made some nice plays. They addressed what they needed. The Chargers, and the Jacksonville were basically the 3 teams that I thought won the offseason. It helped the Jets that they had 854 first-round picks. So that's always helpful when you have talent to there. Next up in the division is going to be the Dolphins. To talk about the Dolphins. Is this like the old run-and-shoot offense? That's what I was thinking. Is that this is that fun, flashy, we can go at you 5 different ways. Their defense is good. I don't know where you would put them, but I mean they're very, very high up there. Is Tua? Everybody doesn't want to be bullish on Tua, and he put up all these completion numbers and all this stuff. I mean, where are you guys at with the Dolphins here?
It was classic though. What a great play call! First play call with the starters in there to start the game. Tua drop play action. Tua dropping back, throws the ball deep to none other than Tyreek Hill. The ball was terribly underthrown, but what does Tyreek do being the superior athlete that he is?
Well, he threw him open.
Is that what it was?
He threw him open, yeah. So basically it was an out route. He was running down the sideline, and Tua threw it to the middle of the field so that Tyreek could come back and get it.
Yeah. So he planned that out perfectly.
Yes. He's accurate. Tua's accurate. You think he missed it by that much?
Oh, my God, yes. I think for sure he missed it by that much, and Tyreek made him look good. And I think Tyreek's going to make him look good on a couple of throws this year. But it was a great play call. First one, we wanted to see those 2 connect. They did connect. He caught the ball. We can't complain about that. This division is, in my eyes, up in the air. I don't see anybody running away with this division.
You don't see Buffalo running away with this division?
I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I don't know why you went there. You should have just let him talk.
Yeah,
because I was going to walk out this week.
Yeah,
I was about to walk out.
So, yes, Buffalo. I was thinking Buffalo, it was Kansas City. But yes, Buffalo's going to run away with it.
Right.
Neither of these teams they're just going to be right around 500.
Yeah, I have Miami finishing second in the division behind Buffalo, and I have that last 7 seed down to Miami or Indianapolis Colts for the last spot in the playoffs. Right now I have it as Miami getting the 7th seed and making the playoffs. I think 2 teams come out of the East because I have the Jets finishing 3rd and the Patriots finishing 4th. I hate to say it because I know there's a lot of Mac Jones love, like not only in this room but on Facebook and all of our listeners. Lots and lots of Mac Jones love. I just watch him and I just don't see it. It doesn't look good.
He physically doesn't move the needle for me. However, he does study. And so if that's enough with that coach and it works, then okay.
But you got to remember, it's a new offensive coordinator because
Understood.
McDaniel's gone, right? And
Yes.
that guy was an offensive guru from what they said. So it's a new offensive coordinator. His line isn't that good. And their best receiver that they went out and got was Devontae Parker, who was on the tail end of his career as well. You have 2 good running backs there, but if you don't have an offensive line, you don't have James White there anymore, so you don't have that safety valve. I just feel like a lot of pressure's on Mac Jones this year, and I just don't think he's going to be able to deliver. I just don't.
And he's not that mobile. He's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of knocks in my opinion. I'm not high on Mac Jones. I have them actually bottom in the division as well.
Me too.
Which I don't think anybody expected us to be saying that, but we definitely are. I think the Patriots are going to run the ball pretty nicely at the beginning of the season. I don't think it'll sustain over the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think their line will wear down.
They're gonna stack the box against this team and make Mac Jones beat you because
Exactly.
I don't know who's gonna beat him.
What the Bills did last year after that game they lost when he only threw the ball twice.
Yeah.
That's what the Bills did, and obviously they boat raced them
Yeah.
when it mattered. I just don't see it. So I don't think. Do you got any hot take that we haven't touched on the Patriots?
No, other than my brain not working and putting the Bills in that same division.
That's okay.
The Bills are going to run away with it. They're
I
going to
wish
be.
I would have made a bet right in that time. To say
That would have been a move.
I
Want to
was-
make that?
I was
Let's
so
make
shocked.
a bet.
I was so
Yeah.
shocked that I was like, "You don't have the Bills winning this division?"
No, I think the Bills run away with it. I think they're going to be close to 13, 14 wins. I think we all agree they're going to be up there and almost win every game that they play this year.
They're gonna be good.
Yeah, and
Josh Allen probably is going to win the MVP. He'll be right there in the talks with everyone else. We invested pretty big into Josh Allen in the offseason. We bought a few big cards, so I think he's, hands down going to run away with it.
Josh Allen to me was one of those guys that come from a small school and you didn't get to see him very much. He was way better than anyone else he played against, right? And they were concerned about his accuracy, and the same thing that I'm saying about Mac Jones, having the book work and spending the time. He's like that. You know who it reminds me? It's weird. It's a different sport. Madison Bumgarner is who I think Josh Allen is in football. Like that, he's that type of guy where he's watched, he's looked, and then he is going to put in the work to beat you, and he is not going to give up. He can be down 3 touchdowns, and he's still going to try to get after it. And there's something to be said about that quarterback because a lot of guys dip their head. That's not the guy there.
I've liked Josh Allen ever since he came out and all those tweets right away when he was talking about what was that quarterback's name that was playing for Buffalo? And he was talking about his girlfriend. He was playing on Alabama in the national championship game, and they kept showing the dude's girlfriend in the crowd, and she was like,
AJ
super hot, McCarron.
AJ McCarron.
And then Josh Allen gets drafted by Buffalo, and guess who the starting quarterback is in Buffalo? Is AJ McCarron. So he came and took his job, and he tried to take his girl 2 years previously on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew I liked Josh Allen.
That's when you knew you liked Josh Allen.
A little awkward in the QB room.
He's like, sorry, bro.
Yeah. Didn't mean it.
Well, so real quick before we get into the next division, because we're going to talk about the Broncos first, but the Seahawks named Geno Smith the starter, not Drew Lock. So Drew Lock could not move away from the Broncos and get it done. So, I mean, obviously it just shows any of you that went and invested into Drew Lock thinking that he was going to be the next coming savior over there.
Terrible mistake.
Not gonna
when
happen.
they moved up in the draft to get him in the second round.
Yeah,
Terrible mistake.
it just was. But Russell Wilson and the Broncos coming into the AFC West, toughest division in football. I think that's pretty easy.
Easily.
This is the one. Yeah, they're gonna beat the hell out of each other.
It just
every
sucks
single week.
Who's gonna finish fourth? Like somebody has to.
Yeah.
Like right now, it sucks.
I
want to see the Raiders win.
will realign divisions really quick.
No chance of that happening. I have Las Vegas. I have the Raiders finishing in last. I just don't think they have enough to overtake any of these teams in the division. And it sucks because I don't want to see the Raiders finish fourth. But
so the Broncos for me is. I think they've done a really great job of acquiring and piling up skill position players. They've got a nice wide receiver room, a little banged up, but they'll be okay. Cortland Sutton is now going to be seeing if he can make that's next step, right? Everybody thinks Jerry Jeudy's a star. Let's find out if he is, right? So it looks across the board. Williams, I can go down the line, right? Looks like these guys are going to be able to do it. My question is, when you get outside of those skill position players, how deep are you? And we have learned from the Seahawks in the past that if there's injuries on that O-line, they don't have the depth like they did back when Russ first came in the league.
Yeah.
If he is running and on the run nonstop, Russ is not as accurate on the run as he is in the pocket.
They don't want him to run because they've come out and said they don't want him running a whole lot because obviously he's getting up there in age and they want to preserve him for the whole season in the playoffs. They don't want him to run.
And I think that's the main thing with this division. They're so close, and I think every game's going to come down to the last probably two possessions of the football game. That it's who's going to stay healthy the longest.
Right.
If we start seeing injuries from the Chiefs or the Broncos, they're going to fall to the back of the pack. You can't have any injuries and still compete for this division.
It's going to be who gets hit hardest with the injuries is going to finish last.
I think we all agree that the Chargers upgraded the most in this offseason with their defensive moves, and that defense is going to be freaking insane.
Yep.
Like when you have Bosa and Khalil Mack coming at you, and then you bring back Derwin James, who was arguably one of the best defenders in football.
Yeah.
You bring him back on that same side, they're going to be pinning their hair back and coming at you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a tough out for anybody to beat them. Obviously, you have Herbert, who's top 5 or top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
This whole division is going to be who stays healthy, who can last the stretch. I don't know. I personally think that the Chargers are going to win the division, followed by the Chiefs, and then it's going to go Raiders and Broncos will finish last. That's how I have it breaking down.
Yeah, assuming everybody stays healthy, I have Chargers, Chiefs, and then I have Denver, and I have the Raiders. And this is assuming everybody stays healthy.
So we just flipped the last two.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm a little different. I have the Raiders finishing second in the division. And the reason I have them finishing second in the division is because I think that they are built to be able to sustain throughout the season. Also, they probably have the best kicker in the game at this point, besides Justin Tucker, right?
Carlson's a stud.
Carlson doesn't miss, and that's going to be key in this division. And then the out-of-division schedule is not great for any of these teams, but it's not scary, right? Because they play against each other in divisions, so it's not going to matter.
You could have said any order for this division, and I would have said that's a possibility.
I think that we might actually see a guy like Derek Carr taking a run at an MVP this year because of the fact that he's got weapons he's never had. And he's, pretty accurate.
Waller to an extension, too, today. Yeah. That was a big thing that was, kind of looming in the offseason, but they signed him to an extension.
And then you got to remember, we have Max Crosby, and now we have Chandler Jones on that defense. That defense is getting as nasty. Abrams is arguably, he's not Derwin James, but he's as scary as Derwin James, and he stops the run, so he's a really good. So that defense is going to be a lot better. I think that the Chiefs ultimately are going to be the last team in the division. I think that we're going to see a telltale sign of how bad their defense is, and I think that's going to be a big thing.
And I think they do have the worst defense out of the
They do. I think they do too, but I can't.
You can't count Mahomes out.
Yeah. Especially if everyone stays healthy.
I agree, but I have to look at it from a standpoint that I'm actually going against Andy Reid not having defense here, not Patrick Mahomes at the helm.
Right.
And I just, at the end of the day, I just don't think that they can sustain that. Because when you get in those later, going to Denver, later in the season or any of that, that defense is
and I think you also have to look at it that, any team that goes in, just like any team that goes and plays Buffalo, they are afraid to play Buffalo. Nobody wants to play Buffalo. these teams, none of them are afraid of each other.
No.
They know they go in that they think they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
Every single team that they play each other, they're going to think they can win the game and hope they win that game. So it's going to be fun. I think this is the division that all of us can't wait to watch. And all these games, I think they put them at, I think, prime time almost in every single divisional game.
They're all good games.
Yeah, so they're either on the late schedule, the 3 o'clock start time for us on the West Coast, so we'll be seeing them on prime time, or they're playing Sunday Night Football or Monday night. So we'll see every single game.
They're already saying that most of the flex games are going to be in division in the West, and where that used to be the East, because he always wanted to get the Jets on TV and with Brady, but now it's quite different. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is going to have a nice season. That's the one takeaway I'll have here, because he's going to be throwing the ball because he's going to be behind.
Yeah.
So they're going to be throwing the ball. So Patrick Mahomes is going to chuck it up a lot. Hopefully he stays healthy, just because, again, his O-line is not deep. They're not deep at O-line.
Their running game isn't fantastic.
Yeah, and they're small at running back because they were built to be gadgety, and now their gadget guy is chasing down fly balls from Tua. So it's like, what do we have there? We'll see. It's... again, you can flip-flop in the order on these. I think we all kind of sit here and think that the Chargers are going to win the division, and then below that, it could be any version of those three teams.
Yes, I agree.
And now, a lot of us think we could take those three teams and put them in almost any division.
Yeah.
And they would compete.
I think they win every division except for AFC East.
Yeah.
You put either the Chiefs, Denver, or Vegas in the AFC South, and they're my favorite to win that division.
Yeah. And by 4 or 5 games.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think they can win every other. I think they sweep almost every out of division game. So it's going to be fun to watch. Who knows?
What's super interesting for me is that this division in 2 years, when you see who has money and who doesn't, and how they can do it, because they're all kind of playing with the same payrolls.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers might have a little bit lead on that just because of Herbert, but they're going to be re-signing Herbert at that point.
Right, but they have a young quarterback. That's why their time is now, because he's still on a rookie contract, and that's when you have to win.
And it shows you, like, the NFL, that's, I think, the reason why we love the NFL so much, is because 3 years ago, this was the worst division of football.
Yeah.
Everybody looked at, before Patrick Mahomes took over that Chiefs team,
Yeah.
you had the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Chargers. They all were terrible. Broncos were probably the best of the 4 during that stretch.
The Chargers were always great on paper, and they were never good on the field.
Right, and now you look at it literally within 3 years, you have 4 of the best teams that are in the NFL. It just shows you how close these guys are.
Does Joey Bosa start to give Aaron Donald talk for the best defensive player?
I don't think anybody touches Aaron Donald ever.
No.
As long as Aaron Donald's on the field and he's healthy, he's hands down the best player on the field.
Yeah.
Just with the Khalil Mack thing, I mean, there's a chance that he could put up some ungodly numbers.
That defense is going to be nasty.
I love when you see the top 100 players, and it's usually voted on by the players and the coaches.
Yeah.
They pull them, and they always say, so for the last 3 years, it's been Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And it's not even close, because the first thing, you can't even finish the question.
Yeah.
Who's the best player in football? Aaron Donald. Everybody says it. Why? Because if you don't double team the guy, he will be in the backfield every single play.
His motor never turns off.
You can't stop him. And then put 2 helmets in his hand, and he's going to wield them around like fireballs in that last practice that he got in a fight at.
Yeah, but Tom Brady was number 1 this year.
That's like
that. I mean, why?
I think it's just ranked as they're giving credit for time served. What he's done has been good. Well, let's wrap it. We had to make our Super Bowl picks.
Yeah.
I'll go first because I know Jimmy wants to leave the room as soon as I say it. I have the Saints representing the NFC, and I have the Bills. As hard as that is for me to do, the Bills winning the AFC. I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year. Where are you at, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm definitely not on the Saints. Saints have 0 chance to. They'll make the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs and done quickly, in my eyes. In the NFC, it's going to be tight. But I do see the Rams going back to the Super Bowl again this year, and I think the Buffalo Bills will be from the AFC, and I think the Bills steamrolled everybody this year. I think they were close to doing it last year. If they don't lose that shootout against KC, I think they win the Super Bowl pretty easily. last year. I think they'll do it again this year.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be an AFC Super Bowl. I also have the Bills. I wanted to put the Chargers in there. I really did, and I think that's going to be the AFC Championship game. But I just think that Allen is going to end up beating Herbert. It's almost like a passing of the torch type thing. You know what I mean? Like Herbert will have another opportunity next year, and I think their team's going to be stacked. So don't get me wrong on that. If they both stay healthy, I have the Bills beating the Chargers in the AFC Championship game. Bills beating the Saints in the Super Bowl, just like you have. I have the Bills winning this. Yeah. I think the Bills are, from top to bottom, the best team in the NFL.
They're really, really good, and they're really deep. That's the thing, is that when you have a team like that literally their third and fourth option at receiver is probably starting at the 2 for 90% of the NFL out there. That's helpful, and their guys want to play together. They've got a proven leader, a guy that wants to win. It's just hard for me to.
Yeah, the only look on them is will their defense hold up and stay strong, and was their foundation before the Josh Allen takeover of that team. Was their defense was always pretty good. I don't see anybody touching them.
The only thing I can hope as a Chargers fan is that the AFC East decides to do nothing but run the football against them nonstop all year, and they get nicked up and beat up because they're just constantly being run. Steve Hodge says he's got the Bucs and the Bills, and he had asked actually our take on Brady a little bit, so we'll kind of circle back for that with you. None of us in the room actually think that the Bucs are making the playoffs this year. None of us have the Buccaneers making the playoffs. If they were to, we think they're at best an 8. We think they're quite a ways out of the playoff picture. Decimated.
It's not Brady's fault.
Yeah,
it's the offensive line, which is what you need for Brady. You have to have him standing upright.
And the personal stuff that's going on with Brady. I think that's really going to take a toll on a 45-year-old Brady, where a lot of people are saying to him, especially in his inner circle, what are you doing? Be at home with your family in this time. You need to be fixing your marriage and or you're going to have a divorce settlement here pretty soon that's going to top Kanye and Kim. It's going to be insane.
Well, she makes more money than he does.
Yeah, so it's
not going to be a money issue.
It's going to be
just the news.
Bad. It's going to be all over the place. Yeah. And that's the last thing you want when you're a celebrity, is to have all your personal business out in the streets.
Well, and end of your career to do that, because I think we all know that his next step for him is he's going into broadcasting, and he pretty much can sit almost anywhere he wants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's probably not sitting in 8
if he doesn't get into an ownership group. I really see him trying to get into some sort of ownership group. I wouldn't be
surprised. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if he retired, and within a couple of years there was discussions of him being the replacement for Belichick as a head coach. He might want to coach him, and maybe if things personally go south, he might. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. If things go personally south, that would maybe possibly be the play.
I could see him being. The coaches put in so much time.
They do, and that's the thing that I don't. So much, which makes me think
way more than any player.
But I wouldn't be surprised to hear it with him.
Yeah,
right. Well, whereas Peyton Manning, I didn't think that.
I just think we'll see at some point a bunch of these big legend quarterbacks joining these groups and trying to buy a team. Miami, I think, is going to be available here soon with all the issues that they had and trying to.
And Jacksonville's talked about all the time. Jacksonville's talked about nonstop.
Rashad Khan.
And if you were Rashad Khan, like right now, if I was him, I would consider doing something soon, because that team has promise. It looks like it has promise.
They wear clown masks to the games.
They do. They do wear clown masks to the games. Guys, it's time for the portion where we ask Jay, our fantasy expert. He's given us some advice already, but for your fantasy team. And real quick note, Jay mentioned it, but we are going into a fantasy draft right after this amongst our guys here at Game Day. So Jay is being very hesitant today, but I mean that as a joke. He's actually a consummate professional. Jay, what do you got for us this week?
All right, so I have a few things. Like I said, we touched on a lot of the stuff as we were going through the show today. But just a few surprise cuts and some rumors that I've been hearing is, number one, I'll start with the small stuff. Carson Strong got cut. That's the Eagles quarterback. I thought that he had a good chance of taking over that number 2 spot in Philadelphia. I think they're going to try and sneak him on the practice squad, but someone's going to snap him up. So some of those quarterback needy teams may be looking for a guy like Carson Strong to add to their quarterback room, because I think the kid's actually got a pretty decent arm, and he could be a good player down the road. That's more
like that would be Seattle immediately, right?
Right. You grab somebody like that and see what you can kind of develop. Alexander Madison. The Vikings are interested, or they're accepting, offers for Alexander Madison. He's in the last year of his deal. He's the backup to Dalvin Cook. He's been really worthy the last few years because Dalvin Cook had gotten hurt. The last 2 years, Dalvin Cook has played almost all of his games. So Madison is out there, and he's there for the taking. They like their running back room after him, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Alexander Madison get moved here recently. Coming up here pretty soon. 2 surprise cuts that will be good for other players. Sony Michel got cut from the Miami Dolphins today, which was surprising to me because he was really good with the Rams playoff run down there in LA for their Super Bowl run. He gets cut. That's great news for Chase Edmonds because he's a clear-cut guy and it's not going to be a committee. Also, LaMichael Pirine got cut from the New York Jets, which a lot of people would say, well, that means Breece Hall. I think it's good for Michael Carter. Because to me, that shows that it's going to be a 50-50 split or damn near close to a 50-50 split, and they're not just going to hand the ball to, hand the whole team to Breece Hall. Everybody's saying he was the top running back selection this last year, and he damn well maybe. But that gives Michael Carter a little glimmer of hope because let's face it, like even in the hobby world, he's been shit on a lot lately because Breece Hall's here, Michael Carter beat it, and no one wants his stuff. This is a little opening for him right now with LaMichael Pirine being gone. And then also, last but not least, best well wishes of Brian Robinson. Just the other day, I don't know where he was. They didn't say where he was in particular, but it looked like somebody tried to carjack him, and he got shot multiple times, and that was the word. Apparently, he's out of surgery. Everything's going well. They say he's going to make a full recovery. They don't know when he'll be back to play again. I guess he got shot in the butt and the leg, basically. He got shot multiple, and they're not life-threatening. He was looking like he was going to take over the number 1 spot for the Washington Commanders. It looked like he had beat Antonio Gibson out for that number 1 spot. And then all of a sudden this happens. So, I don't know how that's going to go, but that looks good for Antonio Gibson now because he's going to have to be the guy for a little while longer. I guess you can say that Robinson got hit with a few shells, but he won't run with a limp. So, let's see how that goes. I had to get that dad joke in there. I told my kids I would do it.
Absolutely. Do you have a sneaky play? I'm doing this only to make you uncomfortable. Do you have a sneaky play at the running back position that you think is being overlooked in the drafts and the leagues that you're in? Someone that's going later than they should, or someone that's going too high? Where's that in your mind?
The sneaky guys that I like aren't starters. They're more backups. Right. And I've been talking about Khalil Herbert for a long time. The Bears. He's a guy that I love in Dynasty. I don't know if he'll get just handed the job, but I believe personally he's a better running back than David Montgomery. So he's one of the guys. I was actually, when everyone was fading Antonio Gibson because of how good Brian Robinson looked, I was all over Antonio Gibson, trying to make deals in other leagues, and so he was a guy that I was actually looking to acquire. Well, now that's gone because with
his
Brian
numbers
Robinson,
have been good.
He's actually good. He has an issue sometimes with fumbling the ball.
Okay.
And that's why Ron Rivera doesn't absolutely love him, and then all of a sudden you see Ron Rivera putting him on the special teams unit. And it's because he used to return punts at Memphis in college. So they wanted him to kind of be that aspect guy. So right away, everybody's like, oh, they're putting him on special teams. He's going to lose his job. Brian Robinson looks pretty good, so they're just going to hand the ball to this rookie. I liked Gibson going into it, but with this news of Brian Robinson, getting hurt and not maybe missing some time, now the cat's out of the bag on Antonio Gibson because he was a guy that I sneaky liked him. If you want a sleeper pick that could be taking over towards the end of the year, but not right away, is Zamir White from the Raiders.
That was mine.
The dude was like the real deal, and I have a feeling that Josh Jacobs, because they didn't extend him, they didn't give him a 5th-year option, they're basically saying, we're going to let you walk. You can go get another contract somewhere else after this year, but we're not trading you. They may try to run him into the ground. And if you're going to run Josh Jacobs into the ground, he's not like this big, huge bruising back.
And he's going to get hurt in the past. He was hurt last year for a majority of the season.
Right.
And, when they made the move, they were trying to run Kenyon Drake. Drake just wasn't able to get downfield enough for them ultimately. And them releasing Drake is the exact play that puts Zamir White.
Basically, if you're drafting Josh Jacobs, because if you're going to go out and get Josh Jacobs, you have to spend probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick to get Josh Jacobs. If you're going to draft him, you're going to have to draft Zamir White a little bit earlier than you should. Yeah. He's a guy that you should be drafting towards the end of your draft. You're going to have to take him a round or 2 earlier because otherwise someone's going to take him.
Yeah, exactly. What about you? You got anything sneaky in your pocket?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not the fantasy expert.
Yeah, but you don't have anything sneaky.
But you play every year.
You play every year?
Every single year you play.
I'm just not very... football's not my good sport.
Yeah,
I'm more of a basketball guy, so I'll talk more in the fantasy basketball episode.
You don't want to talk about the A's beating the Yankees 2 times in a row before we go?
We can talk about that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, you don't. That's it.
That was it.
I just want to know what your thoughts were on that.
Oh, it is what it is. Like I said, I wanted them to lose some games. They've lost more than I really wanted them.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little more than I wanted. We had a 15-game lead at one point. Now it's down to 6.
Well,
so
you're starting to get a couple of those teams that are behind you have some guys that either are coming back off injuries here soon, or are guys that, and something we didn't talk about and we should have, and I want to bring this up really quick since we're saying that. Bryce Harper, 35 days after he broke his wrist, took 2 games in AA, hit 2 doubles, a home run, had like 5 RBIs, and was like, I'm ready to come back, kids. Comes back and has a hit in his first game back. It's incredible that he healed as fast as he did and that he's back. And it's weird to think this, but when he got hurt, he had 15 jacks. Mm-hmm. He has 15 jacks right now. He has a chance to still finish with like 30, 35 jacks for the season. It's unreal to me.
That would be an absolute tear if he did that.
He did,
but it's great to see the star players coming back like that. Like, even if you're not a Phillies fan, you want to see the star players.
And I think the Phillies, they definitely want him in that lineup. The lineup's pretty good. They're a decent team. They're going to be right there in the mix of it for the playoff spots there. So we'll see what happens.
For baseball, we needed to see him back healthy to play in the playoffs, or at least be making a run towards the end of the season.
We needed to see the teams that have a giant lead come down to earth a little bit and have some of these other teams make it more of a race. Like, you don't want to see a team run away with a 20-game lead.
Dodgers have a 19.5 lead.
But they have a 19.5 game every year.
But now they're getting hit with a couple injuries, and I'm not saying they're going to lose it. I'm just saying maybe make it a little bit tighter than it should be.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. We don't talk about baseball until the end of September anyways. It's football season.
I thought we talked about baseball right after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
He did. For 2 weeks, he talked about baseball.
It's football season.
Now it's football season. Guys, of course, thank you guys so much for checking in. We're here each and every Monday with you guys, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. We have a really, really big Whatnot show tonight. So if you guys love singles, join Johnny Rip Rip. We have part of Whatnot's Monday Night Raw that they're doing. There are shows right now that are running Raw singles, and we are one of the featured shows. So if you guys want to come through, they have been working all day on getting a whole bunch of new stuff for that show, get it ready to rock and roll. It's pretty exciting. I could hear as we were prepping and getting things ready for the show today. Guys talking about how excited they were about this card and that card. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. That is on Whatnot, Game Day LV. Make sure you join us tonight. And then shout out to Avery for coming to the team. Avery's going to be joining us, running some NASCAR and some single shows on the Game Day Las Vegas page soon. And B Moods is now with us Soccer Sunday.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. A year and a half ago, we opened this, and we opened it with 4 employees. Yeah. And now we're a year and a half later, we're at 13. We have 8 streamers. We have a lot of guys working here. The 3 of us have been here over a year already. Yeah. So it's like we've been doing this podcast for almost a year coming through. So yeah, it's great times. It's looking good for us here at Game Day, and we owe it all to everyone else, our customers and our friends.
So I like how we have an expert in every facet too.
Yeah, we try to build.
We only hire experts.
That's it.
100%.
That's all. We go out and get goats. That's all that matters.
You do. Avery is the swimming expert.
Swimming expert, and the NASCAR. He's the NASCAR goat. Yeah. B Moods is pulling down the soccer stream. So yeah, it's been
fun. Prism to come out.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, that Ryan Lochte is going to be amazing.
Ryan Lochte Prism. Can't wait. Guys, thank you for being here and join us on Whatnot, also over on Drip. Thank you to those that joined us and came and said hi in Burbank. And, of course, as usual,
let's go Monsters.